It's really warm in here.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah, it's warm. We have a huge crowd showing up today.
You know, I mean, I guess we will only be talking to people online. So it should be real short.
There's Auntie Bev.
There's Auntie Bev, ever faithful, ever faithful.
Let's see. Talk about ever faithful.
Well, thank you.
I am.
Wow.
2 minutes and counting.
2 minutes?
2 minutes and counting.
We planned that lunch done real fast. To ate by myself, so I could cool down and
And
also
you
so
ate
I could
fast?
just eat without. I like interacting, but if I'm interacting, I don't just eat.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Hi, Debbie.
it was really good food.
You okay?
It's very good. Very good.
It was excellent, yes. Microphone tested. Microphone checker. 1, 2 checker. Record. Go ahead. Aloha and welcome to our town hall meeting. Thank you for those of you who are online. Thank you for those of you who are sitting in the chapel. We have very few people. It's kind of warm in here, so I think people decided not to stick around. They're still eating? Oh, well, I kind of like to be on time, so I'm going to just go ahead and start. Welcome, and our board updates is going to be some news that you can use. We actually have a chance to celebrate right now because in the past we've had a lot of things going on, and there's just so much going on. Our plates were full. Now we are able to breathe, and we are able to see. We can see the forest, if only not but for the trees. So what I want to do is start out by thank you. Unity Church of Hawaii, guiding principles and agreements. We refrain from making assumptions, gossip, personal attacks, and side talk. So I just wanted to get that out there before we actually start the meeting, which we will start by lighting the Christ candle. The Christ candle this month, I thought it would be nice to light the Christ candle in honor not only of Christ, but of the children. We know that Jesus loved the little children, all the children of the world, red, yellow, black, and white. They're all precious in his sight. So we light the candle in honor of the children of the world. And now, Reverend Tim, will you bless us in prayer?
It's good. I may evidently turn this Oh, it's good to be with you all, those of you online and those of you who are here. So we pause for a moment, God, knowing that you are here, that you are speaking in, through, and as us, that you are here in this meeting. And we give thanks for all the good things that are happening here, all the good that is unfolding here. We give thanks for all those who participate. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Tim. So, the next slide shows important stuff for the board. March 3rd, we had our annual meeting, and of course, at that time, we elected new board members. On May 10th through the 11th, we'll have a board retreat. And the board retreat is where the board gets together. We spend the first night just having a little bit of fun and bonding, getting to know each other, and doing different games and things that help us to do more teamwork together. The day after that, then we have maybe a presentation of something that shows us or tells us about board training and leadership. Reverend Tim will be taking us through our second half of the 15 commitments, and then we will likely have some information about board officers and what their responsibilities are. The Evolutionary Council is starting soon. I know Reverend Margie is off island, and Thomas is here somewhere, but that'll be starting up pretty soon. In May, we'll begin posting the minutes. Now, posting the minutes meaning out here on the bulletin board. Many of you have asked for the minutes and the financials to be on the bulletin board. So thank you, Kathy. She posted January's minutes. You know, it's always a month behind, at least. So starting next month, then we'll catch back up. But January's minutes are on the bulletin board now. The financials are not there, just the minutes at the moment. Wanted to mention sacred service. It's very important that we have a contingency of people to come and help us with things around the campus and help us with our ushering on Sunday and just various other activities that we have for sacred service. So that's one of the most important things about our community is when we pull together and we do our sacred service. Like Reverend Tony here, she's not a full-time usher, but she comes and helps when she's needed. That's right. So bless her heart. Celebrate that we are in a quiet place. I already mentioned that. So we are in a relatively quiet place. There are certain things going on campus that will continue to go on that have to do with either sacred safety or the facilities, still working on the integral ministry and quantum living. So those things are things that you know about and you will hear about as time goes on. You'll still continue to hear about those things as we are implementing them or keeping them going. Next slide, please. Wanted to introduce you to our current board members. Current board members are Ralph Whitaker, president. David Grisham is our vice president. Jerry Denton is the secretary, and our assistant secretary is Marcia Zena Major. Cindy Hensley is our treasurer, and our beautiful assistant treasurer is Debbie Catania. Hinano Ray is one of our members at large. Mary Paulson is a member at large, and Juliet Carlson, also another member at large. And the biggest member at large is Reverend Tim. All right. Next, thank you. The Endowment Foundation. Now, this is information that Debbie might have a little bit more different information, or that's the current. Okay, so this is the current information about the net distribution for the month of January, 11,411.51. And the assets are still at 2,179,368. We're expecting our next distribution from the Endowment Foundation in April, which this is the end of April, so we'll be able to report on that at least by next month or so. Next slide, please. Probably wait till I finish because then I'll be able to. So this is a continuation of the slide that Jerry had given to us about the AV upgrades. Those continue, I think, the audiovisual upgrades. And Facilities Committee is identifying and correcting various areas of concern around the campus that have to do either with the termites, or I believe we have a situation with the gate out here by the Wellness Center that needs to be corrected immediately. Okay. The next thing I want to do is give the floor over to Reverend Tim. I know it says treasury. We're going to get to that, but I want to give it over to Reverend Tim so he can give us his report real quick because he's got some things important to put out there.
Thank you, Ralph. I just wanted to share with you all one thing, and that is about Unity Windward. Unity Windward, another Unity church, is on the Windward side. Those of you who watch online, you may not live here, but on another side of the island called the Windward side is Unity Windward. And they are releasing their building that they have been renting. And also Reverend Gio, who has been their senior minister, has resigned. He is now on the mainland, and he'll be coming back here, but he's in a time of discernment. So please hold Reverend Gio and Unity Windward in your prayers. There's several of us in leadership, both at Unity Windward and here. From here, myself, Reverend Johanna, Ralph, Jerry Denton, trying to think who else from here, have been meeting with Reverend Gio, with some of the leaders, board members from Unity Windward. As of our last meeting, the people from Unity Windward were deciding to become what is called a study group. This doesn't mean Bible study group or something, or book study, although they do a lot of that. But a study group is an official designation within Unity Worldwide Ministries of having all the functions. It can have all the functions of a church, but without a board. They have not had enough board members to have a full quorum of board members. And so they will continue as a study group. They will continue as a group that does the work as a church, but we'll see how that unfolds, where they will be meeting. There may be times, we're exploring with them. We're already doing our prayer chaplaincy together. We do our trainings together, our meetings together as prayer chaplains, Windward and Unity Church of Hawaii. But we're looking at other ways. There are people here already who sometimes go and speak or teach with Unity Windward, and so we're going to do even more of that. And we're looking at ways in which we may help publicize things that they are doing and work in even more close conjunction with one another. So, it's a challenging time for them, but it's also an exciting time to see what wants to emerge from all this. And I want you to know that we are there supporting and looking at ways that we can work together. Let's see if there's anything else on that. Probably not at this time, but just hold them in your prayers. I just wanted to bring you up to speed on that.
Thank you, Reverend Tim. I just want to let everyone know that if you're online, someone is monitoring it. So if you have questions, you should be able to. But I mean, if you have any questions or comments, there's a part at the end for questions and answers. So if you can hold off till then, that would be great. If not, if it's just burning, I'll entertain it now. No? Okay. Thank you. So, okay, great. Thank you. So at this time, I'd like to bring up our I don't like saying assistant treasurer because you are the one. Trusted treasury team, yes. That would be Debbie Catania.
Thanks, Ralph. So next. Okay, one more. One next. Okay. Our tithes are very important, what we tithe out to the community. We send a third of our tithes to Unity Worldwide Ministries, a third of our tithes go to Unity headquarters, and a third of our tithes go to a nonprofit that is local, organization here on island. So in January, our that organization was called RISE, Residential Youth Services Empowerment. They're working to end youth homelessness in Hawaii, and currently operates a 20-bed shelter. 6 housing programs offer 20 independent living housing vouchers for houseless youth throughout Oahu. In February, our 1/3 of our tithes went to Alulike. This organization has been operating since 1975. They were initially connected to OHA, no longer. They are meant to assist Native Hawaiians in their efforts to achieve social and economic self-sufficiency. So they do have trainings, and there's assistance with small business, Native Hawaiian organizations that want to create small businesses, a full range of services. They have a library that can be used. I believe that there was a time when they were doing computer training for a lot of these people who were looking into starting up their own small businesses. In March, Luna Lilo Home was our local organization, started by King Luna Lilo, and established to accommodate poor and infirm people of Hawaiian blood, although that is not a requirement anymore. The home provides residential care, respite care, adult daycare, and also meals to go. Next one. Okay, so this is a list of our donations, the money that's being received. For the 10 a.m. service, the combination or the quarter brought in $12,951. CC recurring is the credit card donations. These are automatic donations that come in via credit card. We received $17,182. Mail-in donations. This is for people who want to write their checks. Perhaps they can't come, so they mail in their tithes. And we received $12,547 from mail-in donations. All totaling $48,829. Now this is only donations that we received. The next slide will give us amounts for other income. Oh, it's the revenues, I'm sorry. So donations, again, we received $48,829. The other income, as I was saying, $39,139. The cost of direct revenue, which is service fees for receiving those credit card donations, and other bank types of fees that we get charged. These are direct costs to or expenses that we incur. Also, costs of direct revenue include our tithes that go out for the month. Our expenses for the months of January through March were $108,000, $108,794, and giving us a net ordinary income of 25,000, what Cindy calls in the brackets. Next. Okay, so that leads us to the reserve fund. You all might know we have a reserve. Last year, we used the reserve as our source of the fundraising. And currently, we started out for the quarter with $38,000. We collected, somebody wrote, or many bodies wrote checks in the amount of $486. But this is a key. We received $11,411 from the Endowment Foundation. And so that income, it's 4% of a cumulative calculation. I think it's 12 months, Sally? 12 quarters. Yeah, it's an average of 12 quarters, and we receive 4% of those 12 per year. Okay, thank you. And so currently we have 50,000 with that contribution from the Endowment Foundation. 50,213.05. Next. Oh, and I want to thank Cindy for all of the work that she did putting all of this together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie. Ooh, that food was so good, I got a little lightheaded there. So our mission and our vision, centered in God, we transform lives and we inspire people to make a positive difference in our world. Centered in God, we elevate global consciousness through the realization of oneness. We are the beloved community. That being said, my beloved community, I'd like to now entertain your questions.
I have two questions, and one is for Debbie, and maybe Sally can answer the other one. So we were 25,000 in the brackets, but we don't touch the reserves to make up for that. Is that correct?
No, we do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we were, for the quarter, 25,000 in the brackets. When the negative,
Yes.
correct, in the red, same thing, yeah. So yes, and I'm not sure, I think that they might have made a big transfer this past month in April. Yeah, in April, we made a transfer from the reserve fund.
So in essence, our reserves would stand at about 25,000, because it was 50,000
Correct.
in the reserves, and then with the negative. Okay, so our reserves
Correct.
are now at 25,000. Okay, okay, good. And the next question I had was the assets in the endowment fund. Is that the real estate? In the endowment foundation?
There is no real estate in the endowment foundation. It's all cash, and it's invested almost all in a Morgan Stanley investment fund and some in a Morgan Stanley savings account on a high interest rate, and a very small amount in a checking account at First Hawaiian Bank. But there's no real estate. There was a bequest of somebody who had real estate in their estate, and that estate sold it and transferred cash to the beneficiaries of that person's. So we never received any real estate ourselves. We just received the cash after the estate of the donor was settled.
Okay, the reason why I asked that is because it was broken down into two different categories. The first one and then the second one was assets. If you
I
go-
got here late, so I didn't see the
If we
slide
can
you're
go
talking
back to that
about.
slide.
It may have been that it was for church real estate.
No, it was under the endowment fund.
I got here late, so.
No. Back some more, maybe?
Yeah, that's not it. No, that's the reserve fund.
No, it was in the beginning.
It's in
It's,
the assets said 2 million, and it's cash.
Do you have the slide? Can we see it? Oh. Ralph's slide.
It's at the beginning. There. One more. No. There.
Net
Assets.
distribution. Right, the assets are all cash.
Yeah.
Right, so it's not real estate assets, it's cash assets.
And the distribution was what Ralph was talking about. That was the money that we received. Now, any money that comes in from the endowment foundation goes directly into the reserves until such time that we need to pull it out.
So the way that works is that the bylaws say of the endowment foundation that we give 4% a year. And the endowment foundation made a decision a couple years ago that we would do that 1% quarterly instead of having the church wait till the end of the year to get 4%. So it's 1% per quarter. Now the assets are higher than the 1%, but that is partly because it's on a rolling average from previous years, so that a lot of the assets came in the last year and a half. So once the rolling average is gone and we're up to date, there'll be a higher distribution every quarter. So there'll be another distribution in April because we're just finishing the first quarter. And in fact, the Endowment Foundation meeting is Tuesday, and we're meeting with a Morgan Stanley person to see, and discuss the investments and all of that. But then there'll be, there was a distribution in April. That's
Yeah.
what you're saying, right? So the next one will be in July after the second quarter ends, right? And it should be going up over time. So.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Allison, for your question. Thank you. Reverend Tony,
I have a hard one just for you.
I bet you do.
How about partnering as we had in the past with other churches or tourist companies, agents for doing more weddings here, because we had a thriving wedding business here in the past. That must be a nice piece of change.
Now, I think that question actually wouldn't be for me. It would be for
You're off the hook, Ralph.
I think that's a very good question. Lots of things have changed since the pandemic, including in, if you will, the wedding market. But, catty corner to us is a beautiful wedding chapel that has been built. UI, the Japanese weddings, their weddings are gradually ramping up more and more. We're going to be meeting with the UI wedding company. They used to be the primary one with whom we worked here for some time. I think there's more that we can do. I think there's more to look at in that regard. And it is a somewhat different climate in terms of the wedding industry.
It's a full-on business.
Yes, and that has changed somewhat with the pandemic, but I do see it coming back, and so more will be revealed, but thank you for bringing that up. I share your interest.
May I also offer another thought on bringing people to us for various services? and that is to have a full-on computer person, somebody that does social media. That, to me, is the name of the game for whatever your business is. So if we had some spots promoting this as a wedding destination, I think that person would have their salary paid more than once by the business they could bring in. Everything is social media, and we need to be on that bandwagon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Any other questions?
I'm thinking.
No, you need a microphone. Anyone else have any questions? So I want to take a moment really just to thank Jerry Denton for one, because over the last year he has been the president of the board, and I think in part because of his leadership, that's why one of the reasons why we're at a quiet place, that I call it. So very much want to thank him, and if you would like to thank him when he's here next Sunday. Now you're being like Reverend Tony.
I know. There was something I forgot to say. I was talking about Unity Windward, but I thought, oh, there's something I need to remember to say at the town hall. And that's in regard to these different spaces down here. Like, we have different ministries. We have the ministry of our preschool that pays an allotment to us every month. As a ministry, they share some of that with us, in addition to all the renovations that they did on the school facilities. You know, $800,000 to $1 million worth of renovation that they paid for on this education building, which the church owns. Okay. But for some time, Reverend Johanna and I have been very interested in the Unity Wellness Center, which for 8 years, Felix and Carmela Wolf were very instrumental with the ministry down there. We've been negotiating with someone. We've been going through a lot of things. I just have the good news that we've reached an agreement. The covenant contract has been signed. Her name is Diana Ho. She's finished her coursework for her doctorate in Chinese medicine, acupuncture, herbology, using herbs. She's already a licensed massage therapist and a yoga instructor here on island. And so she is going to be the new practitioner, operator of the ministry down here at Unity Wellness. You can check her out online. She has her own website, Diana and Ho, H-O. And she's taking her exams. She's already taken some of her exams. 2 of her exams have to be taken in China. She's traveling in China right now and taking those exams. And then she'll take her boards so that she is board certified as a doctor in those fields. Right now, she's been operating under the supervision of a someone who's licensed to be a clinician that supervises her doing acupuncture work and so forth. But soon, we anticipate she will be fully licensed and certified to do all that. And we're looking at her bringing in some other practitioners. She's interested in that. So that there can be a full complement of practitioners down here. So when you brought up weddings, I thought, oh wait, there's other things going on and other resources. The garden room does not sit empty all the time. We use it for classes. And we do need classroom space. I don't want us to use up, now we'll see what we want to do with our spaces, because we still have the cottage down here, which we need to refurbish and decide what we want to do with the cottage down here. As you go towards the courtyard, just to your right is the cottage. This room we've used for things like board training. Joanne Lewis, when she was here, was teaching classes in that. When there are small groups, like there's a French language group with children, they're interested. I mean, we rent it out and we use it for our classroom space. I'm hesitant. I'm just telling you where I'm coming from. I'm hesitant to use up all of our classroom space for rentals. I mean, for a permanent business. Because we need classroom space besides just the sanctuary. When we have classes, and I see more and more classes starting here at the church, and more people are wanting to do them in person. I'm not finished yet. Just let me finish. Thank you. And so I've had the opportunity to be at a wonderful church, Unity in Marin. Wonderful, wonderful church, large church that had given up all of its educational space. All of it. For rentals, because they were so concerned about finances. There was the sanctuary, if you could get it between all the events. And if any of you from Unity in Marin are watching, you know I love you. When I came there, I said, so you are an event venue that happens to have a church. You've gotten away from your mission. I will not let that happen here. I want us to utilize our space in the best way we can. Yes, it can be income producing, and I want it to be income producing, but I don't want us to give up all of our classroom space because we are here for the transforming of lives and inspiring people to make a positive difference in our world. We're not here just for Sunday mornings. So it's important to me that we have that class space. Now, we're still in conversation about that. That doesn't mean that this is the final word. But I just want you to know where I'm coming from, that I'm not willing to give up all of our classroom space just to bring in income. Classes can also be income producing, but I want to make sure we're fulfilling our mission, not an event venue that happens to have a church. Do you have?
Let me see what the hell I was going to say. It took so long. Jeez.
It took a little while. All right. I just wanted to share that with you. Did anyone have any questions or comments about that? Sally, let's bring Sally and Mike. Okay.
It may be that you talked about this before I got here, so I apologize, but was there talk about the cottage and what has to be done in order to use that?
No, because we need clarity about what we want to use the cottage for. We know that in order to do any kind of renovations, we'll need to bring in a contractor or architect or someone. But our Space Force, our Space Force Committee, needs to determine what is our goal for that space.
There's a space there now. Is it space that could be used as a classroom as it is without doing a major renovation?
It would need to be cleaned up. We'd need to look at, I mean, right now there's screws on the floor, and I mean, it's still usable if we clean it up. We could use it without renovation.
Okay, because that's important, because there would be space there to be used for classes.
Right, it's a beautiful space.
Without having to do a major renovation. And that's huge. And then there's a garden room too.
Right, so it's a beautiful space. If you've not been down there, the cottage has 3 good-sized rooms in it. 3 good-sized rooms. And it has a beautiful view, you know. It has palms and tropical foliage all around it. It's a really nice space.
So why couldn't that be cleaned up and used now, and then maybe possibly rent the garden room. I understand that
That's
you
a
don't want to rent
possibility.
everything, but there's a lot of space now, and something could be
Yeah.
rented maybe, but to have it sit empty while we
Right.
decide what to do eventually and don't have the money to do it
Exactly.
eventually anyway, doesn't
Right.
make sense to me.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, and maybe there could be I don't know what the cleaning is, but, a work day or something, if it's
Yeah,
something
we
that
just need to decide how
people
we
can do.
want to utilize our space.
Well, first cleaning it is the first step, no matter how you utilize it, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Sally. Anyone else on that? Oh, Tony remembered what she wanted to say. See you, Schwan.
So, for almost 40 years, I have not been able to attend Saturday classes because I was in prison. They wouldn't let me out. But now,
Let's explain that. What people are
Oh,
watching
oh,
online who
yeah,
may not get the joke.
I like men. I went to prison.
That's not a secret. Go ahead.
You're as bad as I am. I went to 2 different prisons, one on Friday and one on Saturday, so I couldn't come to any of the wonderful, wonderful classes.
As a volunteer,
Oh,
chaplain.
yeah. No salary. Didn't write me up in the advertiser. No glory. No nothing. Just show up. So then I left that ministry, and I thought, oh boy, I can now participate in all these fabulous unity classes and sources. No, everything's e-campus. What? E-campus.
Right. We want more and more things in person. Right now, there's still a lot of people who prefer things online. Like I had a workshop for 3 weeks in a row on whole body mystical awakening that I did in person. And I was told, Reverend Tim, people don't come in person. They're still all online. I said, well, I want to do this process in person, Reverend Tim. But we did it. And we had 45 people coming to those sessions. And they were really into it. So I know, and we're going to move that direction more and more. I agree with you. There are a number of people who don't drive at night and who have difficulty still getting out after the pandemic. People ask me, how many people are in this church? And I say, well, on a Sunday, we have 80 to 125 who come in person. Online, we'll have about 250 per week, not all on Sunday. Through the week, about 250 people who join us online. So this is a bigger congregation than what you see. That's on YouTube and on Facebook. So there's different ways that we need to, I agree, we need to have in person. Right. I hear you. Okay.
And to Tony's point, is there a possibility to do 2, that class you were talking about? Because I think the one you talked about, you had one before, and I attended, and it was well attended. Can you have one in person and one Zoom?
Yeah, just, how far do I want to stretch myself? So in the future, I will do something in person, because people have, I think, the need and the desire, and I certainly like getting together in person. But at this point, I don't want to try to do one online and one in person on the same week and also lead a Bible study and the other things I'm doing. I get spread too thin. I've done hybrid classes. It takes special skills to do that, and I've done it. I hear you. Hybrid is hard. How many people here have regularly led hybrid classes? In them. How many of you have led them? It's harder than it looks. And I'm not against doing hybrid. I'd rather do one or the other. Hybrid is where you have people in person and people on the line at the same time. So, well, it's not just like being on Zoom. So it means that I need to focus on the people online at the same time that I'm focusing on people in the physical space. And it also is helpful if we have their picture up on the screen so everyone is seeing them, not just on my screen. If it's truly hybrid, everyone needs to be able to see each other and interact. That takes some technology. And yeah, and I'm not against the idea. I've done it. I've done it a lot. But it does take special effort. It's not just setting up your Zoom. It's much more than that. Anyway, all right.
Thank you. Okay, so very good meeting. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sally, for being here and explaining some of the Endowment Foundation things to us. And I think now we want to go ahead and stand up, gather together, and sing Weave and be prayed out by Reverend Tim. Okay. Weave, weave, weave us together. Weave us together in unity and love. Weave, weave, weave us together. Weave us together in unity and love.
Sure. Thank you, everybody. We are one. We're one unity family, and that means that we are connected at our heart space. So thank you for caring enough to participate this morning. You're important. Mahalo.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.